Major funding for NJTV News is provided in part by RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together. NJM Insurance Group, serving the insurance needs of New Jersey residents and businesses for more than 100 years. And Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
Tonight on NJTV News, the midterms' major impact.
New Jersey's political landscape looks a lot bluer today as its 3 new Congress members-elect focus on the future.
An extension on your midterm. That's what counties are asking for to help count an unprecedented number of vote-by-mail ballots.
New Jersey Democrats help Democrats overall recapture the House. What does it mean for working with the Trump White House?
Governor Murphy offers his take on the election. It was a blue wave in New Jersey, less so nationally.
And a ray of hope for NJ Transit riders. The rail line's hiring more engineers. But when? Those stories and more next on NJTV News.
Live from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio at 2 Gateway Center in Newark, this is NJTV News with Mary Alice Williams.
Hello, thank you for joining us. It's the day after an historic and exhausting election decided by energized New Jersey voters who turned out in droves, helping Democrats capture control of the House of Representatives and leaving the state Republicans with the fewest House members in more than a century. Senior correspondent Brenda Flanagan reports on New Jersey's red-hot races that went blue.
This is for you. We love you.
Mikey Sherrill got flowers and hugs from Essex County Executive Joe DiVincenzo today and helped lay a wreath to honor veterans in her first event as the Congresswoman-elect from New Jersey's 11th Congressional District. But even though an anti-Trump backlash helped propel her to victory, Sherrill's from a district the president won by a point in 2016. She's not expecting pressure to tangle with Trump.
Not from people here in the 11th. I think people here, the expectation is we get some work done and Congress gets back to work and we see some real results here. Because right now New Jersey has been a little bit stuck with this tax plan and the constantly rising cost of health care and the lack of infrastructure funding.
For her to win a Republican district the way she did was pretty amazing. I've been involved in politics for a long time. I haven't seen that in Essex County.
But that means that she's going to have to walk a different path when she gets down there.
Listen, she's going to do what she has to do.
One of more than 100 women candidates elected to Congress across the nation last night, Sherrill's buoyed by a movement born out of the Women's March.
You know, it's kind of mixed because part of me feels like, why did it take so long? But I'm thrilled to see the kind of numbers, and hopefully we can continue to build on that.
Sherrill says she still won't support Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. Neither will another moderate Democrat who won last night, Jeff Van Drew, who flipped the predominantly Republican 2nd District by 6 points. But 7th CD Victor Tom Malinowski's still open to backing Pelosi and says he has a mandate to check Trump.
We're going to make sure, for example, that there is no interference from the White House with the Justice Department, the FBI, with the Mueller investigation. We want to make sure that that takes its course, that the law of the land on health care and environmental protection, other important issues is followed, is enforced.
Congressman Donald Payne warned expect a House controlled by Democrats to push back.
We're not going to overreach, but we're going to do our job, the job that the Republican Party hasn't done in checking the executive branch.
It'll be up to whoever is the Speaker of the House to make sure that they can cobble together a compromise that will bring all these different people to the table. So I think New Jersey is a perfect microcosm of the kinds of things that are going to happen among Democrats.
Sherrill, Malinowski, and Van Drew may all be Democrats, but they represent different constituencies, and they'll be focusing on different goals as they head to the next Congress. In Newark, I'm Brenda Flanagan, NJTV News.
There's one key race still hanging in the balance, with lots of ballots yet to be counted and little daylight between two-term Republican Representative Tom MacArthur and his Democratic challenger, Andy Kim. Leah Mishkin has an update.
The race between incumbent Republican Tom MacArthur and his Democratic opponent, Andy Kim, was a toss-up going into election night. But as the hours passed, the MacArthur campaign made the announcement the race was too close to call. in part because of a new law which Governor Murphy signed in August that automatically sent a mail-in ballot to anyone who had requested one in 2016 and who didn't opt out in writing. The chairman of Burlington County's Board of Elections says they received 26,000 mail-in ballots, which is more than they usually get for general elections. As of Wednesday morning, MacArthur was up by about 2,000 votes. But Burlington County is a Kim stronghold, and they still had 6,000 ballots to count.
Our model in our polling suggested that if turnout in Burlington County was 57% of the district, then Andy Kim would win. And I think right now it's around 55% of the district, which is why it's such a close race.
It is a district that voted for former President Obama in 2008 and 2012, and for President Trump in 2016.
I know I raised a couple of eyebrows back in the spring when I said that 4 of the 5 Republican-held seats in New Jersey were up for grabs. They were in play, and some people thought the MacArthur district was not going to be in play. But one thing that I saw was the size of the potential turnout in Burlington County, much bigger than we saw even in the 2017 election.
Neither candidate would speak with us today, but on Election Day, both candidates felt confident they would win.
We've run a good, strong race, and people know what I stand for.
I feel loose, I feel excited, relaxed, and I'm really just energized and drawing energy from the people. We've seen incredible turnouts at the polls already today, and I can't wait to see what happens.
So while the Democrats have regained control of the House, it's still unclear whether Representative MacArthur will hold on to his seat. In addition to mail-in ballots, there are also provisional ballots, those given to voters who did not vote by mail and instead showed up at polls. It could be Monday or Tuesday of next week before those are verified and counted. In Toms River, Leah Mishkin, NJTV News.
And late word tonight that after counting some of the remaining ballots, Democratic challenger Andy Kim is pulling ahead of incumbent Tom MacArthur. The race has still not been called. The ballots themselves played an outsized role in New Jersey's election and gave county clerk's offices an outside job to do. Brianna Vannozzi has that part of the story.
Not long after polls closed Tuesday night, Somerset County's Board of Elections made the request, a court order suspending the vote-by-mail ballot count due to volume the office has never before experienced.
With the amount we had this year, which was over 18,000, they just simply couldn't handle it. Nobody had anticipated that we would have that rate of return.
Somerset County Clerk Steve Peter says the new vote-by-mail law signed in August of this year didn't give county election offices much time to prepare for what turned out to be an unprecedented midterm election.
In 2016, my office sent out altogether fewer than 17,000 requested ballots. So those weren't the amount returned, those were the ones requested. So we had more return this year than were requested in the presidential election.
The count was suspended until 9 a.m. this morning, meaning there are still no winners declared for a number of municipal races here. Anecdotally, Peter says judges in 6 other counties across the state issued similar orders last night. Those local races hang in limbo too.
Last night we had Kim Guadagno, former lieutenant governor, on our air, and she said this was rolled out very hastily, too soon, and we're going to see issues like this across the state. Is she right?
It was rolled out very quickly. I think it caught a lot of the clerks by surprise. I wish that they had given us either more lead time or postponed the actual effect of the law until the beginning of the year. But I think all the clerks, all 21 clerks, managed to get the job done.
The new law automatically enrolls anyone who voted by mail in the 2016 presidential election. That caused a huge surge. Nearly 300% more vote-by-mail ballots were issued this midterm compared to the previous. And Peter says overall turnout in Somerset County was up 13 points from last year's gubernatorial election. Preliminary statewide turnout numbers reveal the same, with 46% this year, down from the last, but still significantly higher than the 36% in the last midterm.
I think there is a clamoring for early voting in the state, and the fact that we don't have it by machine is something that the legislators might want to take a look at.
If these numbers continue, it's likely that delayed counting and results for local elections will become the new norm, though there's one area where mostly everyone will agree it's certainly driving voter turnout.
In Somerville, Brianna Venozzi, NJTV News.
Possible election interference had the attention of New Jersey businesses. Standing by at the Strategic Development Group studio at the NJCU School of Business is Rhonda Schaffler. Rhonda?
Mary Alice, an election-related follow-up in the business world as Facebook has disclosed more information about those suspicious accounts it removed ahead of the midterms. Hours after most polls closed yesterday, Facebook issued a news statement saying those accounts may have been linked to the Russia-based Internet Research Agency. Now, that's the same group previously linked to using Facebook to interfere with the 2016 presidential election. Facebook stated it is continuing to work with the U.S. government and other technology companies to try to stay ahead of what it called bad actors. NJ Transit's efforts to step up recruitment appear to be working. The beleaguered transit agency says it's received more than 5,000 applications for train engineer positions. NJ Transit says it will soon be reaching out to potential trainees. That is, of course, welcome news for commuters who've endured train cancellations due to personnel shortages. The agency is also hiring more mechanics, assistant conductors, and others. There's been a pickup in merger and acquisition activity in New Jersey's banking sector. The Wall Street Journal reports Investors Bank is the latest company looking at a possible sale. Short Hills-based Investors Bank has about 150 branches in the state. Last week, Metuchen Savings Bank merged with Manasquan Bank, and two South Jersey banks, Capital Bank and Ocean First Bank, said they also would like to merge. Customers of HSBC Bank should be checking their credit. That bank says some of its U.S. customer bank accounts were hacked last month. It's not clear whether attackers attempted to access the customer accounts. The final vote is not yet in for Amazon's new headquarters location. That reminder today from Governor Murphy and Newark Mayor Ras Baraka. They both spoke at a post-election news conference and said published reports stating that a decision has been made are just a lot of speculation. Reports have said Amazon's HQ2 will be split between New York City and Virginia. Mayor Baraka told NJ Biz it's not over until it's over, and that Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos hasn't made the decision yet. And the governor added, no matter what Amazon ends up doing, it's sharpened our game. Chief political correspondent Michael Aaron will have more on that news conference coming up shortly. Well, Election Day went over very well on Wall Street. Stocks staged their best post-midterm rally since 1982, led by the Dow Industrials, which soared 545 points. And those are your top business stories.
Support for the Business Report is provided by Verizon and New Jersey Tourism Industry Association, announcing its annual New Jersey Conference on Tourism, December 5th and 6th at Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Online at njtia.com.
The morning after Tuesday's midterms revealed not so much a blue wave as a great divide in the nation. Analysts at Rutgers-Eagleton Institute of Politics Wednesday morning quarterbacked the contests and their consequences. Michael Hill was there.
50 years after Luis Bastidas came from Ecuador, there's no doubt what motivated his vote on Tuesday.
We had to fight it with our president right now because too much blah, 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 and no respect with nobody. You know, we need respect.
A reflection of exit poll results. President Trump loomed large in Democrat success in New Jersey's traditionally red congressional districts.
Donald Trump is the gift that keeps on giving here in New Jersey.
At the Eagleton Institute of Politics, the morning after analyzed the midterm results.
He is not the gift that keeps on giving to Democrats around the country, however, and I was a little despondent yesterday in looking at the numbers across the country, because to me it is just such a bifurcation between what we on the coast think and feel and what people across the country feel. I'm 45 years old, I've never in my life seen a country so divided. It seems to me that we're not even debating the same issues anymore. We're not even talking the same language.
Analysts hope that will change as the House will have nearly 100 women for the first time.
There has been a lot of talk about the Year of the Woman, which is a label that I loathe. It makes women seem like a novelty. It makes them seem like the other.
On a state level, it was a bloodbath
for Republicans, and people shouldn't pretend otherwise.
But Republican strategist Mike Duhame says nationally, Republicans increasing their majority and numbers in the U.S. Senate potentially to 55 is a major feat.
And nobody should discount that. That doesn't normally happen in midterm. Now, the map was very much in favor, right? There were a lot of those Democrats were in those rectangular states in the middle of the country. And Trump is very popular there. He put those states on the map. We didn't win those under George W. Bush or when John McCain or Mitt Romney were running, but they did win while Donald Trump was president. And I think you have to give some credit there. He knows what buttons to push.
With New Jersey Democrats scoring major victories in congressional races and adding to the majority they'll have in the House starting in January, what does this mean for working with the president and getting things done?
Now he's actually going to have a Democratic House to blame for things. This will make him happy.
House Democrats already are talking about using their majority to pursue the president's tax returns, and he's warning them that will produce the kind of Washington gridlock both parties blame the other for creating. Michael Hilt, NJTV News.
Nationally, the electorate's split decision may have set the stage for policy conflicts to come. Senior correspondent David Cruz has a look at last night's national storylines. David?
Mary Alice, the headline coming out of the midterm elections is that Democrats will now control the House of Representatives. Needing to turn 23 seats, Democrats got at least 28, changing the face of the House, putting the brakes on the president's legislative agenda, and making partisan investigations more likely. This is the House before, and here's the House after. In the Senate, though, Republicans held their own and, in fact, extended their majority 51 to 46. The president was claiming victory today.
We should get along and get deals done. Now, we can investigate. They look at us, we look at them. It goes on for 2 years. Then at the end of 2 years, nothing's done. Now, what's bad for them is being in the majority, I'm just going to blame them. You understand? I'm going to blame them. They're the majority. Honestly, it makes it much simpler for me.
There are a few races still to be called, but New Jersey's Mikey Sherrill was one of 103 women who won seats yesterday. Add 10 women already serving in the Senate, and that's a new record. Democrats can also claim victory in governor's races, flipping 7 from New Mexico to Connecticut. Although Republicans held on to Florida, Iowa, and Ohio, 3 key presidential election states come 2020. The president also endorsed Nancy Pelosi for another term as Speaker, saying he could work with her. Ultimately, for all the fervor, the midterm elections settled nothing. And with the presidential season about to begin, it's anybody's guess what the long-term implications will be of yesterday's vote. In the meantime, enjoy your television programs, free from political ads, for at least another year and a half.
Celebrating the victory of good over evil, light over darkness, and knowledge over ignorance. That tops tonight's Garden State Express. Our first stop, Robbinsville, where the Hindu Festival of Lights, tonight Diwali, tomorrow the New Year, will be observed inside the state's largest Hindu temple, an exotic edifice of Italian marble, 13,500 individual pieces carved and handcrafted in India according to ancient instructions, then assembled on New Jersey farmland. The Dome Mandir is filled with 144 sacred figures and adorned elephants, its pillars depicting Hindu sages, and at the entrance, a statue of the founder of BAPS, a worldwide spiritual and humanitarian organization dedicated to community service, peace, and harmony. Next to Lindenwold, where the community has a new disaster relief trailer for pets. Too often, in the wake of natural disasters, pets and their owners become separated. The American Kennel Club Pet Disaster Relief Organization has provided Camden County an emergency trailer staffed by Office of Emergency Management's animal response team members who are specifically trained to evacuate animals, and it's stocked with supplies to house up to 65 pets immediately after a disaster is declared. Finally, New Brunswick, where more than 600 bikers on Harleys descended on the Bristol-Myers Squibb Children's Hospital to spread holiday joy ahead of the season. The Liberty Harley Owners Group, HOG chapter of Rahway, celebrated its 20th anniversary toy run by delivering hundreds of toys to pediatric patients and kids in the community and stocking the playroom, too. This year, they were joined by members of the Blue Knights Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club, who've pledged another $1,000 worth of toys, and by the Grinch, who posed for pictures. And that's the Garden State Express for Wednesday, November 7th. Something up in your neighborhood? Tip us off. New Jersey voters approved the only statewide question on Tuesday's ballot to let the state borrow $500 million to expand vocational schools and bolster security and improve water infrastructure at public schools. Officials haven't said how much another $500 million of debt will cost taxpayers. It's already paying more than $4 billion this year on debt service alone. Not on the ballot, the state's governor. But some pundits are giving Phil Murphy a win for risking his prestige to stump for Democratic candidates in all 21 counties. Chief political correspondent Michael Aaron was with him today.
Governor Murphy and Newark Mayor Ras Baraka whipped up the crowd at a black church this morning. They were celebrating a good Democratic night in New Jersey, particularly the U.S. Senate win by Bob Menendez. You showed out, said Baraka.
The city of Newark showed out. We showed out.
Murphy saw the Menendez win as a rebuke of President Trump.
Newark stood up and said to Donald Trump, not here, not now.
The scene was the Greater Abyssinian Baptist Church. In a back room, Murphy held a press conference where he was asked how disappointed he is that Democrats didn't win various high-profile races around the country.
We struck a huge blow in New Jersey, so there's no question about that. And we struck a blow nationally. We didn't strike as deep a blow as I think we had wanted to.
Murphy totaled up some of his pluses and minuses of the election. On the plus side, the Affordable Care Act now seems safe.
We won the House of Representatives last night, in large part due to what happened in New Jersey. The attack on the Affordable Care Act has ended.
Other pluses for Democrats, Congressman Frank Pallone is in line to become chairman of the powerful House Energy and Commerce Committee, and a New Jersey delegation that was 6-6 Democrat-Republican just 2 years ago will now become 10-2 or 11-1. On Murphy's minus side, the failure to win back the Senate from Republicans means more conservative judges getting confirmed. Murphy said Bob Menendez was home enjoying some private family time after a very rough campaign.
He wanted to be here. He has precious few hours to spend with his infant granddaughter who's up from Florida, and he made the right decision, and he's there with her and his daughter this morning and early afternoon, and we are standing up on his behalf.
Baraka had especially harsh words for Trump. Murphy added a Democratic House means good things for tax fairness and climate change. So from Murphy's point of view, a good night for Democrats in New Jersey. Some disappointment it wasn't a bigger wave around the country. In Newark, I'm Michael Aaron, NJTV News.
And now some noteworthy facts that help you know Jersey. There are 5,937,432 registered voters in New Jersey. New Jersey voters have passed 4 out of 5 bond issues that have appeared on the ballot since 2007. The New Jersey Constitution of 1776 did not discriminate by gender when it came to voting. And BAPS in Robbinsville is the largest Hindu temple in New Jersey. If there's someone who you'd like to get to know Jersey, share. Use hashtag KnowJersey. Tomorrow on NJTV News, the Select Committee investigating Murphy administration hiring practices takes shape. To share any story you've seen tonight, go to njtvnews.org. I'm Mary Alice Williams. For all the men and women of NJTV News, thanks for being here. See you tomorrow.
The members of the New Jersey Education Association, making public schools great for every child. And PSE&G, we make things work for communities.
PSE&G is building New Jersey's clean energy future. We're working to protect our network against extreme weather, expanding and upgrading transmission lines, and modernizing our natural gas system by installing new, more durable underground pipes. At PSE&G, our goal is to make sure you have the safe, reliable energy you need to power your life now and into the future.
In every county across the state,
I do like that Horizon is a Jersey company. It's almost like a sports team. For us, it's like ours.
in sickness and in health.
You never think it's going to happen to you, especially being so young. Horizon has been there for me through everything I've been through.
With experience and stability, we're behind you.
You know, we're hardworking people in New Jersey. Horizon gets us.